Yo, beautiful souls, how are you feeling? Welcome to the Ascension trip with Jerry and Chris. We are so happy to be here with you. How you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling absolutely amazing, brother. It is an amazing and beautiful day today, and I'm just so excited to get started on this journey with you and, of course, with all of the viewers who are on this journey of the Ascension trip that we are indeed, in fact, on. And I'm just grateful to be here and to be a part of this journey.
Man, I'm so glad we're kicking this off. You know, for those of you that are tuning in to Chris and I for the first time, we're starting this Ascension trip, and it is a platform to guide you, partner you, love with you, share with you, and help you on this crazy old worldly Ascension trip, as we are these galactic spiritual beings in these human bodies having this crazy old worldly experience. We all need a little bit of guidance. We all need some healing. And every single week, Chris and I are going to pump out material, content that is going to help you on your own divine mission.
That's so beautiful. And it doesn't matter where you are in your spiritual journey, whether you're a beginner, whether you're in the intermediate, or whether you are the advanced galactic being traveling and traversing through the multi-sphere of the universes and dimensions that exist in consciousness. It doesn't matter where you come from. We welcome all people from all demographics and all walks of life to embrace this journey, because we are all in this experience together.
Yeah, man. I love you, brother. I'm so happy to be in this space.
I'm so happy to do this with you, brother. And I'm just excited to be able to share this broadcast with everybody. So let's start. Let's get things introduced and let's kickstart this video with a subject, which I think, as we've been talking about and getting into, I'll let you sort of lead it in and open it up, and maybe perhaps we'll start bouncing ideas off of each other. So go ahead, Jerry.
So we thought a good place to start this first transmission would be to talk about the 3D, 5D timeline split. There's so much talk, there's so much hype, there's so much misinformation around on the planet right now, along with lots of beautiful, spot-on information. But we need to kind of separate the wood from the trees and really realize what is the truth. And your truth may be different from our truths. I mean, Chris's truth may be different from mine and mine from Chris's, and that's all beautiful too. But there are some fundamental elements of the truth that everybody needs to be made aware of. And coming into to the 21st of December 2020, I mean, Chris and I were talking earlier, and there's a lot of people that think that we're just going to be here playing around on this crazy green and blue ball. And then all of a sudden we kind of slide off it into another dimension, or we slide up and we float into another dimension, and we look around and all of our friends are gone, or, there's a whole new group of people and everything's different. Maybe we see rainbows and unicorns and dragons and diamond trees. I don't know, but that isn't going to happen.
No, we
got to rein it back in a little bit.
Well, and that's the beautiful thing, a perfect way to start the dialogue, because what I've always said, there are some people that are in the spiritual community that are talking about the event. And many people have been waiting years and years and years for the event to take place. And what I say to that, from my perspective, and I'm sure, Jerry, you're going to agree with this, is that we are the event. We are the ones that, look, at the end of the day, what I see in the community, what tends to happen is we give our power away. We give our power away to, the networks, to governments, to society, to our guides, to our crystals, to our sage, to our incense, our this, our that, all of these things. And we forget about the power that is inside and what we actually came for. Why did the soul tether into the physical body in the first place? To be able to navigate and download the frequencies that are coming from the galactic source. So we are the transmitters, the senders and receivers of information to facilitate the great change that is called the event in the first place. We are co-creating the event. We're not waiting for the event to take place. We are the ones that are co-creating the event through our actions, through our intentions, through our love, and how we move through this stratosphere. What do you think?
I agree. We're the galactic code, man. Like, and that's what I feel. We're like the galactic code. So we're the key to open the door, and we're also the door that has to be opened by the
That's it.
keys that are kind of different from us, but are us at the same time. You know, and the thing is, like you, Chris, you're a door, and I'm a key, but I'm also a door, and you're a key, and you'll be opening me whilst I'm opening you, and we'll be walking through each other because we're all the same. And these streams of information, these galactic data streams, these codes, these light codes, these transmissions that are coming down from the central sun through our sun into our local environment, are changing our frequency and shifting us up into that 40 to 100 hertz range, where we access that fifth dimensional space or that fifth density frequency band. And when that happens, we still have choice. This is what everyone's really got to kind of understand in their hearts, that we all have choice. And we were discussing this earlier, you know, truth, honesty, compassion, love, like these basic fundamental principles that everyone needs to really kind of hone and own as humans in a 3-4D space, still need to be worked on in a higher vibrational state, because we're going to come into a space soon where we can hear other people's thoughts. We can communicate telepathically. And if I'm sat there having a chat with Chris, and Chris is saying to me, you know, Jerry, I think this and I think that, and I'm saying, yeah, I agree with you, Chris. But really in my mind, I'm thinking, nah, Chris, you're full of shit, bro. And he can hear this. I mean, how is that going to be good for either of us? I mean, number one, he knows I'm lying. And why would I want to lie in the first place? You know, we're going to be held accountable by telepathic communication. So honesty, integrity, compassion, love, all of these fundamental values have to be kind of honored and infused into consciousness in our human selves, our galactic selves, throughout our whole global community.
That is exactly it, brother. You nailed it so well. And that's where we're heading towards, you know, just exactly what you were mentioning about moving into the fifth dimension and getting into these higher frequencies. It is our job to tune in, and we are, like I say, the senders and receivers of information. And it's almost like I describe us as sort of like universal remotes, right? You ever have those universal remotes, you know, that you can plug into and you can change and use, operate multiple devices, tune into different frequencies and different channel stations. And that's what we really are, is we are these universal remotes that have the opportunity to open up and plug into these different channels. And these channels are just brainwave frequencies, vibrations, whatever you want to, dimensions, frameworks of points of consciousness, whatever you want to label it, or however you want to call it. Everybody has a different meaning towards it, but the end result is the same. And what that is we are ascending to a higher frequency. And how do we do that? How do we get there? We get there by matching the same channel that we are trying to connect with through our own vibration. And once you match that, the integrity and the telepathic gifts and abilities, we were talking about this a little bit earlier about your experience with telepathy and how this is coming in a little bit more and more with your experience. I shared mine. That's where we're heading towards, I think, as a human species, is where we're moving towards, is we are evolving ourselves genetically. We are evolving ourselves through experience as a soul, and we are evolving as a collective consciousness.
Absolutely, man. And things like laughter and hugging and smiling and all of these basic things, like saying, Chris, I love you, bro. You're amazing.
I love you, bro.
Give us a hug, man. Like these things that we can just do so freely and easily. We don't need to spend any money. We don't need to spend any time. We can do it in seconds. They amplify our own vibration, and they amplify the vibration of the other human being in the space and anybody else nearby, even if they're not listening. You know, they're intuitively connected. So just by exercising our own free will to be conscious beings in these physical avatar vessels, we're changing things. And this is kind of what you're talking about with the universal remote. Like the remote has the opportunity to tune itself into whatever it wants to tune into, but someone has to press that controller. So we're like the universal remotes, but someone has to press us, because if we leave ourselves to be pressed, quite often we're going to be pressed by things that are detrimental to our spiritual growth, like our ego. They're going to be pressing the attack button. They're going to be pressing the defend button. But if we can be in a present state of awareness, we can press the I love you button, the you're awesome button, the give me a hug button, and we can just elevate together. You know, it's about choices, isn't it, bro? Like we were talking about earlier, the choices.
That's exactly it. And I think that's what equates to and brings us back to our sovereignty, which I think as ascending beings, we're claiming that birthright again. Do you see what I see, like from a collective consciousness in regards to the third dimensional split and the fifth dimensional split? And the difference between the two is the understanding of your sovereignty and what free will really dictates. That's that frequency, which is plugging into, like Jerry was saying, the broadband of love, of a hug, of spending time with, you know, sometimes the most simple things or the most valuable things in life, what I found is free, and they're self-generated from our own creation. It's spending time with somebody, it's loving one another, it's extending service or lending an ear to someone, or just laughing. I mean, you and I just before we started this recording, I mean, we were just busting God. You can say you just literally cannot contain the joy and the laughter, and that was all free, those experiences. And you know, to keep it short and bring this back to you, Jerry, is that it really does come down to free will. It really comes down to claiming our sovereignty and recognizing that you are the one that are co-creating your experience. 5D is a co-creative experience of your own consciousness. 3D is a co-creative experience of your consciousness, and it has to do with the broadband, just like the universal remote. We are just learning how to tap out of one subscription to one service and subscribing to a new channel. It's like, you know, we dropped Netflix because of cuties, and now we're on the Gaia, the Netflix of Gaia. Now we're plugging into Gaia. It's sort of like that frequency. We're moving from one and we're jumping into another frequency.
You know that word, bro, sovereignty. When someone says that word sovereignty, it sends this ripple of like purity and divinity. My cells are vibrating when I hear that word sovereignty. I am sovereign.
Yes.
You know, how many of you know that you're sovereign? How many of you trust, know, not believe, but you know that you're sovereign in your hearts, that you are this divine instrument of phenomenal creative endeavors that is here on planet Earth to be sovereign, to make your own choices, to make up the rules of your own human game. Just stop for one moment, close your eyes and actually say to yourself, I am sovereign, and feel it in your heart. Just feel it for a moment. Oh boy.
Bro, that is like, it is electric. That feeling is pure bliss, pure electricity, and it is empowerment. You know, and that's what sovereignty really is. It's not coming from a place of, and I want to clarify this, is, you know, sovereignty and claiming that it's coming from a pure space of recognizing that you are the instrument or the ship or the captain of your own ship, and what you are doing is guiding your vessel through the experience that you are co-creating with. And I think it's important to understand that the sovereignty is knowing that you are the whole kit and caboodle, but also having the balance that everyone is. You, my brother, my sisters of this world, all human beings have that same spark inside, and that we are all equal, but also unique in our identity. You know, some people, you know, have this, you know, this framework that, you know, what here, I'll just go with my system and what I look at. I think that not all people are created equal, and some people may not agree with this. And the reason why I say not all people are created equal is because every person has a different value to offer to the world. If we had all singers or all painters or all, you know, everybody was all the same, this world would be bloody boring. So the fact that each of us has a unique fingerprint that is so unique to each soul, that's what makes this so beautiful. So yes, we are all part of the same soup of source, but in quality, we all have different characteristics, traits, and qualities that makes us unique to create the identity that is Chris and the identity that is Jerry. And the fact that Jerry isn't Chris and Chris isn't Jerry is what makes us so beautiful and so wonderful, that we can come in with our commonalities and our differences, and we can also coexist.
Absolutely. Salute that, brother. You know, it
My
comes
brother.
back to kind of like the name of this channel, Ascension Trip. You know, we're on a trip, and we're all on the same planet in bodies that are very similar in terms that we've got arms and legs, and we've got a heart that pumps, and we've got kidneys and bones, and this skeletal structure and a nervous system, a spinal column, a brain, a pineal gland. We've all got this stuff, which is like the same drug. Like it's all taking the same acid tablet or hitting, it's all smoking the DMT pipe. You know, we're all thrust into this thing, but we all have a different trip. You know, and everybody's trip is unique and fundamentally geared towards their own spiritual journey. And the point of the 0 point of where they're at when they kind of incarnate into these human bodies, because we've all got different lessons to learn. We've all got different values to hone. We've all got different paths that must be walked to enable us to grow in the way that we need to grow, to elevate our souls in the way that our souls need to elevate, so that once we depart from this human vessel, or maybe we won't, we're going to go somewhere else to another space of learning through our own choice.
Yeah.
And it's just a beautiful thing, and we must honor that.
I agree with you, brother. You just serenade my soul with your words every time. And it's so, that's what this co-creative experience is.
I just had a, when you said that, serenade my soul, I just had a picture of me with my arm around you, like walking you down the aisle, but it was your soul. It was
It's like, hey, buddy, what's going on?
But I hear you, man. Like that. I feel the same way, man.
Yeah, and that's the soul song is, you know, I was having a conversation about this just recently. I'm going to use this as the context, is that every soul has its own song, and we are essentially playing a frequency. And when we do that, like, this is why our instruments, the physical body, is such a powerful vehicle to allow us to navigate through this third dimensional reality and co-create with it. You see, everything is a co-creative process. And this is irregardless of whether you're building a city, a town, a business, you know, a relationship, or just working with yourself. You're co-creating. You are always co-creating with something, even when you're alone. You're co-creating your thoughts, whether it's with the universe or with yourself, and vice versa. They're both one and the same. But the point is, we are in this co-creative space. And what I found is, you get to, as a sovereign soul, you have the ability, right, to be able to play the song that lights your soul on fire. And whatever that may be, which it's different to every individual, but once you discover that sound of what sets your soul on fire, just prepare for the ascension trip to take place. Because once the soul and you make that bond, and once that experience begins to ignite inside of you, it is like the universe just starts to miraculously work in your favor. And like I said, welcome to the ascension trip, because that co-creative environment begins to invite you, because you recognize who you are, not on a third dimensional level, but you recognize the sound of your soul and begin to match that in the co-creative experiment that we are on. Because this is what we are really doing here, aren't we, Jerry? I mean, we're here to experiment, and we're here, most importantly, I think, fundamentally, to experience.
Absolutely. You know, and I think this is such an important point, Chris. I mean, they're all important points, but this is such an important point because a lot of people on this spiritual journey, on this spiritual trip, on their ascension trip, they feel that they have to be a certain way because they're spiritual. And I think this limits so many people. You know, we're here on an earth that has so many opportunities to experience life. Why would you not want to experience it? Why would you not want to drive a really fast car? I'm not saying you need to own one, or maybe you want to own one. Why would you not want to travel the world? Why would you not want to fly in a private jet? Why would you not want to go on a speedboat? Why not wear a beautiful designer suit? Why not kick back in your Speedos and flip-flops one day? You know, like all of these different experiences. Like, you don't have to be a certain way. You don't need to be in white rags underneath a tree on a mountaintop meditating. You can be meditating anywhere you want. And meditation itself, I mean, that's a whole other topic, but that should be 24/7, 365. As an observational being, you're in meditation. It's when thoughts stop in your head, you enter that present state of awareness, and everything becomes fluid. And that kind of brings us back to what you were saying about knowing your own divinity and being part of your own co-creative process. By recognizing your own divinity and realizing that you are within this infinite flow, this infinite stream, this infinite unified force that just takes you on this magical ascension trip. But whilst you're worried, in fear, trying to control it, trying to hold on, what if I lose this? I need to gain that.
Yeah.
You're never going to be in that natural flow. And so you're going to block your own co-creative process. And that's not that you should never ever make decisions, because you should make choices and decisions. But those choices and decisions should be to stay in the flow and to let go and to surrender and to not hold on when the mind and the ego wants to grab, wants to cling, wants to fight. No, you've got to override that with your own consciousness and say, you know what? I ain't buying that one today. I've evolved. I'm letting go. See you later, relationship. See you later, business. See you later, friends. See you later, family. I'm going down the pub with Chris. Whatever it is. You know?
That is just it, brother. You nailed it so well. And I love the intro where there was something I wanted to bring up because you did it so good. You said it so well. And you and I, we have such an agreement with so many different subjects. And that's why I love having these conversations with you. And I hope everybody's watching is enjoying it too, because here's another perspective. And I've talked about this. I want to add on to what you put in, you know, just like you were saying, right? People think that they need, in order to be spiritual, you have to have the drapes and drabs and go sitting on the mountain and cross your feet and go you know, like there's a misconception of what spirituality is. And this is why I don't like to limit myself to the label. Like, yes, I am a spiritual being, but I think sometimes the consensus of what people do is they tend to flip it into the same structures that religion was based on. And what I mean by that is, like, it's like heaven and hell, the whole idea and judgment and concepts of God, and that if you're not doing what spirituality says, you're wrong. And it's the same premise of what we see in the religious structures, because if you don't follow what they say, well, you're going to go to hell. If you do follow it, well, then you have eternal heavenly, you know, you see what I'm saying? So the same thing, and it's okay that human beings are going through this process, because in order for us to realize ourselves, we do have to evidently bring these ideas and concepts, and we have to see ourselves for what we are doing. But what I always say, and this is fundamental to me, is I recognize one very important thing that really clarified what it means to be spiritual. And what that means is the idea and concept that you recognize that your soul and your spirit is tethered to your physical body. And every single person on this planet is spiritual. Whether they are consciously co-creating or moving towards their ascension process, that's a different story. But again, in the examples that I gave, they are grade levels of spiritual development. Some are in kindergarten, you know, they're still in the preschooling, you know, toddler years of discovering what they are, who they are, and their connection to self. But every single soul is spirit incarnated into the physical body. So it's not, you cannot say one is wrong versus another one is right. We are all going through the same school. And that school of this development of our spiritual development is what may be one path for another may not be right for a different person, but they are all conclusively helping each person and each individual in their ascension process. So if you want to, like Jerry was saying, you want to drive a fast car, drive a fast car. Some people will say, not interested. I like my little Toyota Echo. I like my little hybrid, you know, that really fuel efficient vehicle. I'm not for leather, or I'm for cloth, or, you know, whatever it is. I like this. I don't like that. That's what the spirit has, and what free will and what a sovereign being really means is to us, so that we have the ability to step into our choices and embrace it irregardless of what the world is saying. And that is what acceptance is about. That's what spiritual ascension is about, is to accept everyone for their co-creative process, because they are spirit in form creating its own experience. And I think if people just recognize that and honor that, we could bring religions together, we could bring spirituality together, we could bring the atheists together in recognizing the commonality that we are all just co-creating together, instead of this narrative that we have of separation. Right, we have countries that have borders and walls, separatism. We have these subjects, you know, gay, straight, bi, this, that, all these labels for people. You know, it's separatism, and people tend to group together as same thing. Spirituality, you know, if you're religious, I don't want to talk to you. How many people in the spiritual community are saying this, right? If you're into religion, I don't want to talk to you. The Bible's a lie. Well, I've read some of the Bible, and there's a lot of great truths in the Bible. Yes, there might be some deception about, you know, maybe somebody spinning it in certain ways, but I think everything has value, right? And I guess to finish this is, everything does have value. And if you choose to see value in all of the things and all of the people and all of the circumstances and experiences, you dissolve the form of what I was just talking about, which is separatism. That's what's causing this whole third dimensional construct to continue on it's falling apart now, and we see it more and more, but it's separatism.
I suppose, what can we do about that, guys? What can we do about separatism? I suppose we need to look at how we can gel that separateness together. And the only way to do that is to accept each other in whatever capacity that is. Accept religion, all the different types of religion, accept black, white, accept rich and poor, accept all these different countries, accept everything. And once you accept it and you come into that space where you can accept it and just be at peace with it, you can then start to understand what these other things actually are, instead of just seeing a label and saying no to it and poo-pooing it and disregarding it. You can start to understand it. And when you start to understand it and understand it, you'll start to realize that actually that black person's the same as me, the white person. And actually that person that lives in Italy is the same as me, the Englishman. And actually that person that reads the Quran is the same as this person that reads the Bible. There is no real difference. It's all based on love. We're human beings that bleed the same. I mean, we're the only crazy planet that gets a green and blue ball and draws lines all over it and separates it into different parts. You go to other parts in the galaxy that don't do that kind of shit. It's oneness, baby.
That's true.
It is true. I mean, you know, we've got to accept. Acceptance is definitely it's the opening of the door to unconditional love. You know, if you want to find and experience unconditional love, take a nice long deep breath and just accept whoever, whatever, and start to understand and understand what they're all about and love them for who they are. And then you'll develop some kind of bond. You know, I've traveled the world just like you, Chris, and it doesn't matter where you go. Everybody loves each other. You know, I mean, I've been to countries and thought, I'm a bit worried about going here because I've heard so much crazy stuff about it. But actually, you go there and it's like, yeah, they're just like me. They love me. They're no different. They might be a different color. They might speak a different language, but they've given me a hug and welcomed me into their home and made me a cup of tea and cut bread with me and fed me. We're all the same, man.
That's it, brother. And that's what this is about, you know, in this ascension process, as me and Jerry have been talking about, the split of what is taking place it's the embodiment of just the subjects that we're talking about that is leading consciousness to evolve. Because as a species, the way the old systems, why they're crumbling is because they're not sustainable for the evolution of not only just our consciousness and self-development, but just as a species. Because if we continue this war, and you know, every year you're seeing here, there, this country, that country, now we got this going on, that going on, the systems are changing now. And that's what a lot of the light workers are becoming triggered and activated to recognize, just the straight madness of what we were doing as a culture prior to, and recognizing that there has to be a different way. And it's about us, you know, me, Jerry, all of you who are watching this, to co-create and to bring new ideas, to bring new concepts, to bring new frames of reference to our experience, and to share in that co-creative environment, to establish a future, not just for ourselves, but for our children's children. And to, you know, I always say this, I don't really have well, I do have huge aspirations. I always have aspirations. Everybody does. But my biggest aspiration that I think I would be plenty happy with, it's not about the accumulation of how much money I had, or what success I earned, or how many people this or that, or, you know, the main thing that's always been for me is that, you know, I hope that when I leave this place, if I leave this place, I leave it a little bit better than when I came into it. And that's my only hope. You know, the rest can be, you know, modified, change. We fall in love, relationship, build this, enjoy that, travel here, taste this food, all of those things. But at the end of the day, I just hope that, you know, that I can make an impact in the world that could make one significant difference to make this world a little bit of a better place. And if I can achieve just that one achievement, you know, the rest is just icing or cherries on top of the delicious cake that I'm enjoying, called this life experience. And that's what this is all about. We are here to be of service to the world and to help improve by supporting one another. Because one of the main systems that has caused separation was that humanity forgot that by banding and working together, we are much stronger united than we will ever be divided.
And that really flows nicely into one of the other kind of main points regarding kind of this 5D consciousness, and that is personal responsibility. And it's personal responsibility to do your own inner work, to maintain your vibration, to put out the right thoughts and emotions, because you know whatever you put out into the universe is going to affect everything, because everything is so interweaved and so interconnected. And at the same time, to maintain that vibration, because by being our own divine sparks and being those beacons of light, we naturally light up the worlds of other people. And like what you were saying, Krishna, you want to leave this world a better place. Just by us maintaining a high vibration, we're affecting and infecting people in such a positive way. And if we can just all hone that personal responsibility, instead of putting things outside of ourselves, because everybody's so quick to pass the buck, you know, or blame this person or judge that thing, you know, but it doesn't matter what is going on in your life, in your reality, you helped co-create it, just like Chris was saying earlier. And we have to take that personal responsibility to make a choice, to do whatever is necessary to maintain a high vibration through the chaos, and see it from a higher ground. Keep that beacon lit up so other people can just be inspired by your own presence on this planet. And that's just not Chris, that's not just me, that's every single human being, that's every soul inside a physical vessel. We all have to take this personal responsibility. And the faster we do that, the faster the vibration as a collective is going to go through the roof, and it's just going to be a much more enjoyable place to be on this planet. Laughing and hugging and sharing and playing and doing all these wonderful things.
And then maybe we will fall into the dimension with all the dragons and ponies and unicorns and fairies and goddesses. And the event, like we've said, it's a co-creative environment where we are moving. We must move together. There's so much more value in the togetherness. When look, it's like, for example, just in the exchange that me and Jerry are doing. Why did we partner up and decide to do this together? It was and I think Jerry's going to agree with me on this, is that when two energies come together and they start the process of co-creating, there's so much inspiration, there's so much creativity, there's so much of a spark. You know, I would say you can't receive a hug without giving a hug to someone, right? You know, like the co-creative process of where we're moving as a culture and as an ascending race is to move in unification and helping each other, because where we're at right now is a crucial junction point. You know, as Jerry and I have been talking about, the split is going to be vast in the difference between those two. So for those people who are starting their spiritual awakening journey and are just waking up and living in the muck of everything and the density of everything, people like myself and Jerry and yourselves who are watching this can be the ones that extend the offering of your hand to help those people who are going through as we continue to evolve as a society. And that's what this togetherness is about the unity for this. All the work that you guys are doing, watching this, and have been on your spiritual journey and ascension, have been training for this. You train through your own experiences, how to go through the dark night of the soul, how to deal with the emotions, how to deal with, you know, existing in this world but not being of it. You're learning how to interact and learning about all this information. All that information is leading for you to be of service to others, to help others, guide them through their ascension process. And that's what unity really means about. You see, we're not indifferent from one another. We're all the same, on the same school of life, enjoying this journey. And we have to come together to, like I said, to make this transition for those souls who are still living in the third dimension to navigate towards these higher experiences. And we can only do that not by trying to control or tell people what they're supposed to do or how they're supposed to live or what their path is, but to be the example, to ignite the spark and to live by example, by living in your heart daily, by treating your brothers and sisters the way that you want to be treated. I mean, there's simple techniques that doesn't have to complicate spiritual ascension. Be good, do good, value others like you value yourself. If you've claimed your sovereignty, if you've claimed your love inside, reflect that back to your brothers and sisters who maybe haven't learned that lesson yet, right?
And when you reflect it back to them, hold that space when you reflect it, because when you reflect that back to whoever is in your space, quite often it shines light into their shadows and into their darkness. And you can get a bit of a rebound or some repercussion. It could be someone saying something or doing something. And your job as a high vibrational being is to hold the light and shine it and allow them to express themselves in whichever way they need to heal. And it kind of comes back to what you were saying earlier, Chris, about, you know, training. Like Earth is the best training ground. You know, you come
Agreed.
to the toughest training ground in the universe.
Say it again, please. Just say it one more time.
You've come to the toughest training ground in the universe, baby.
Seriously.
You know, you've
please continue.
8 billion souls, 8 billion people on this planet, all running around, have been divided over and over and over, and subdivided and subdivided and manipulated and subdivided and put into this crazy kind of, I haven't even got a word for it. Like, they've been put into this kind of like container and shaken, and then everyone's got to try and work it out. You know, it really is a tough old place to be, because we've come from other planets and other stars when we only know unconditional love. And we come here and there's hatred and anger and fear and guilt and jealousy and all of these other things. And we've got to navigate our way through all of that madness to get back to what we already were, already are, always have been. And that is love at the core of our beings. That is source. It is God. It is the universe. It's whatever label you want to stick on that energy that we all are. And this training ground gives us the opportunity to overcome everything that's thrown our way, to bring ourselves back to the starting point, which seems like a bit of a crazy old thing to throw yourself into. Why would you want to go into this training ground just to discover what you were in the first place? It seems a little bit bonkers, I know, but it is the ultimate test for the ultimate spiritual warrior. And that's why I salute every single one of you on this spiritual journey and take my cosmic hat off, because it really isn't easy. And by us taking personal responsibility and reclaiming our own divine sovereignty and realizing that we're galactic titans here on Earth and we're spiritual beings having a human experience, we get to connect with that energy. And it's that reconnection to the energy that we've always been, that collides with other energies that have always been, like Chris and I connecting and deciding to run this ascension trip thing together, that creates this wave. And once that wave starts, it turns into a tsunami and you can't stop it. And it hurtles up the beach and across the lands, and it destroys buildings and farmlands and everything. But what it does, as it destroys the buildings and the farmlands and towns and cities, it washes everything back to zero. And that zero is the energy that we all are. That is love. By getting rid of all of the stuff that we don't need, that tsunami of love washes it all through. It washes through the guilt, the fear, the rejection, the anger, the jealousy, all of that fear stuff. And it brings us back to the 0 point, which is love, which is the ascension trip, which is right here, right now. Chris and I sharing with you, saying, we love you. You're awesome.
We do love you guys. Yes, brother. Yes, 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 yes. I love it. And, you know, like you said, the ascension trip is not an easy one, but it is so worth it, because that is the ladder that you are claiming to your sovereignty. It's through that resistance where you're realizing, I am a sovereign soul. I am an infinite being. I am capable of conquering, you know. And we did land into a bit of a, let's just call it for what it is, a bit of a shitstorm. You know, there is a lot of, you know, like Jerry was saying, if you remember some of your past lives where you are a love-based being, a high vibrational being, and you were in a fifth dimensional embodiment, and we had to start out from this level, we chose this experience for the challenge and that's what we were talking about earlier, is it's experience. You know, you signed up to be a forefront beacon, a light for the darkness. So here we have a lot of darkness that swallowed Earth and created a lot of control and all of these things that many of you are already aware about. But why you've signed yourself up here is to be that beacon, to be able to navigate through all of that darkness, to be the seed that gets planted into the ground and sprouts into the beautiful and benevolent being that you are. And part of that process was forgetting who you are, to do that and to recognize it. And really, I think it's such a beautiful thing. I mean, from my perspective, when I look at it and I realize, you know, I forgot all of this stuff to remember who I was, I realized the beauty in the message. It was like, here, you're going to start out like you know nothing, all to realize that you are the everything. And you're like, wait, what? What do you mean? So I came into this experience knowing nothing, to realize that I have the ability and I am tapped in and I'm connected to the all that is. What a trip. What an ascension trip that is, to realize the vastness of your soul and who you are. And through those challenges that you go through, it's the recognition and it's those little victories that bring you closer to that bridge that one day you will walk across, in the recognition of who you truly are. And that is that infinite being. And nothing can stop you from your path, because if this body doesn't do the job and you don't commit to finishing the agreement that you made here, guess what? You're just going to come back again and again and again and again and again, if you need to, until your soul has experienced the journey that it's here to be on. So the beautiful thing is what I always say is, in a place that is darkness, be the light, but also don't take life so seriously. And what I mean by that is not to just not do anything and sit on a beach and radiate, unless that's what you want to do for this experience, and that's fine too. But don't take life so seriously. You know, I think the easier that we can flow with the recognition that we live in duality, right? Yin and yang is part of the experience, no matter what you do. I mean, Jerry's not immune to it. I'm not immune to it. But what I've recognized is knowing that you are a spiritual being and also the alchemist of your reality, you have the capacity and the capability to recognize that even in the dark moments or the negative moments, there's an opportunity for growth. So in negative, there's positive, and in positive, there's also negative. Too much of a good thing can be sometimes bad for you. So when you start to realize that both sides of the game can be in service to you or in disservice to you, depending on how you are alchemically playing with this simulation, empowers you and gives you the opportunity through free will to choose which disc that you choose to be on, what part of the experience that you want to take. Do you want to take that last relationship that broke you down and made your heart cry and feel really sad and depressed and go into a dark room and eat ice cream for the next week straight? Or can you use that as the stepping stone, an opportunity for you to develop your character and to see who you are and what you're really looking for in a partnership, to see the lessons, to see the opportunity, to see the value in all of the experiences that life offers to you? That's what I'm really emphasizing, is that there is a value in all experiences that we have if we choose to consciously see it.
Mining the gold from every situation, bro.
That's it.
Mining the gold. You said two words, man, and I think these two words are important. And I think this would be a good place to kind of like finish on.
Wrap it up.
The two words were worth it. Worth it. That this ascension trip is worth it. This training ground, the madness and the chaos that we have to go through, the experiences, the troubles, the turmoil, the human experience, the range of emotions on the spectrum between love and fear that we all experience at one time or another, and some of us many times over during our lives, are all worth it. Even when we're down in the darkest, deepest, dark nights of the soul, it's worth it. It's worth it because you get to discover something so pure, something so divine, something so magical, and that is that you're nothing. Like Chris was saying earlier, you know, we come into this world and we're blank slated, zero memory of our past life experiences, most of us anyway, and we have to relearn them, re-know them, regain them, re-tap into them to realize that we're everything. But the only way that we can realize that we're everything is to realize that we're nothing, no thing. We're nothing tangible. We're nothing physical. We're nothing that you can put in a box. We're just this godlike, goddess-like, magical flow of energy that is immeasurable and indescribable, but at the same time has the ability to manifest into everything physical and have that experience. It's human beings. I mean, to be a human being is amazing. To be a human being and then to realize your own divinity within that human vessel, to be a high conscious being, to truly love one another, to truly care about one another, not just because you want something in return, but because you just love unconditionally without no wants for anything back. For me, that's just a divine price. To be able to give selflessly, to be able to wander these earthly planes and just travel and connect, eat good foods, you know, climb trees, swim in rivers, do all of the things that you want to do and just have fun, you know, play with lions and tigers and go into the Antarctic and see some polar bears and penguins and just actually get to travel these earthly planes and do it as a conscious being, because you just want to have these experiences so you can see them and feel them and taste them and touch them in a physical body. Because when you go back to another planet or another star, you're not going to be able to pick this up and touch it. You know, this pen, you're going to go through the pen. You know, you're going to have many other experiences too, but you're not going to be solid and things aren't going to be tangible. So we need to appreciate what it's like to be high vibrational conscious beings in a physical vessel and to love. That for me is what is worth it. What about you, Chris? What do you feel is the worth itness in this kind of journey of where we're kind of headed back to the start?
Well, you touch base on so many beautiful things, brother. It's hard to just. I'm going to do my best to add on to this because I'll start with this. What I recognize in my own experience is I've been walking this path for the better portion of about 13 years now. And what I realized was I started this thing that started in my early years, and I've stuck to this. And I think it's what's allowed me the opportunity to be successful in the endeavors that I've been co-creating. And what I fell in love with was I fell in love with making mistakes. like I because a lot of us, when we make mistakes or we say the wrong thing or we do the wrong thing or we acted or treated somebody, the situation didn't work out in a certain way, we tend to guilt ourselves, right? We guilt and shame and oh, I didn't do it right, oh, I didn't say that, oh, that's so embarrassing, oh, I made a mistake here, oh, that did for me, there was a certain turning point in my experience of what became worth it for me was really about the fact that I started to fall in love with the idea of making mistakes. And not to say that I just want to continue to make mistakes, but what I realized was the mistakes that I was making was it was always in service to my growth and to my development. And once I started to fall in love with that process and embrace the fact that I am the imperfection of my own perfection, that I started to embrace that part of myself, it made the journey so much more worth it, right? Like for me, it was not about anymore. It was like, okay, well, I made a mistake. I didn't say the right thing. Now I have the opportunity to recognize that and say it better next time. If I did somebody wrong or did the wrong action or did the wrong thing, it's an opportunity. So that in my future now, I have the opportunity to reprimand and to make a better decision every single time. And I think there's still a lot of guilt and shame from the collective side of things, that we are guilted and shamed by, you did the wrong thing, you weren't acting correctly in society, you're not following the path that you're supposed to do, mom and dad told you you're supposed to be a doctor instead of a spiritualist, what are you doing with your life, you're wasting your time, all this sort of nonsense and jibber jabber, the bullshit that people tend to spew, and it's ingrained inside of our conditions, and it's placed conditions that's limited our growth. And when I started to realize, wow, like the more mistakes that I do make, it gives me more opportunities to grow. And once I started to realize that made this process of all the challenges, and boy, have we been through some challenges, right? I mean, those journeys, those challenges ended up being worth it. Like all that pain and all that suffering ended up becoming who I am today. Like it evolved me because of the choice and my ability to make those experiences and to change those experiences into the person that I am today. So that gratitude and that thankfulness and that perspective is what I've acquired to my ability to navigate through the challenges. And, like I was saying, me and Jerry are just like every one of you. All of us have problems. I mean, I could say, hey, Jerry, how many problems do you have? Well, just the last week, let me tell you, like just last week, what's what I had to go through. I got this going on over here, over here, over here. But again, if you look at where Jerry's wired and where we're wired and where everybody should work towards being wired, is gearing that as the ability to be the stepping stone to your ascension trip. That's the ascension part, is to see that everything, like we mentioned earlier, and what I was saying is that everything is in service to all of us. And it gives us the opportunity to realize that like I said, through challenges and mistakes, don't guilt and shame yourself, but see it as an opportunity for you to grow. And from that platform, you can begin to co-create and take on any challenge that you are going after. Your dreams, your goals, that diet change, getting back to the gym, whatever it is that you want to do, your ascension trip, whatever you're moving into, having that as a fundamental and as that reminder will propel you into what is already yours. Because as soon as you plant that seed and say, I am becoming, the universe is already co-creating you to that experience, to that manifestation. But we as sovereign beings have to get out of our own way. And that's what I think is the key component to moving through all of these challenging times and seeing the things that are going on, to use it and to alchemically use it towards our advantage.
Every mistake is a trampoline. That's what was ringing through my head, like when you were talking. Every mistake is a trampoline, and the more you dive into the middle of the trampoline, and the harder you hit it, the more it springs you in the right direction, up into
Up.
vibrational space. Use
Bro,
it.
I love it.
Saying.
I think we could close that up because that was like impeccable and beautiful. And I think maybe we should thank everybody who's joining in to this broadcast and to this video. If you guys would like, of course, make sure that you subscribe and of course hit that notification bell. As Jerry mentioned, we will be doing weekly videos and updates, and as things progress, perhaps we may be doing more and more content as the channel grows and as me and Jerry get to work together. Is there anything that you want to throw into there, Jerry, as we close it up?
Yeah, we've got a website coming soon, ascensiontrip.com, so stay tuned for that. And remember to share these videos. Share them with your friends, with your family, with your loved ones. We all need a bit of healing. We all need a bit of guidance, and we all need a bit of support. And community is the way forwards. So be a part of this community, share these videos, and invite others to be a part of this community. And together we can grow and thrive on this incredible planet. And just to remind you guys that you're awesome and that we love you, and we're so grateful, so grateful to have had this opportunity to share with you. So grateful. I got no words.
There's that telepathic connection, because just as you were saying the last points, I'm like, we love you, we love you, we love you. And then 2 seconds later, Jerry comes in, he's like, and of course we cannot forget that we love you. And guys, we love you, and we're all in this journey together. Like Jerry said, share it out. If you think somebody needs to hear this message, we're here to co-create together. And part of our messages are really about moving into unity so that we can help one another, to raise one another. And we can only do that together, because at the end of the day, me and Jerry could sit on these streams and talk to each other, endlessly, and that's great and dandy. But we also need somebody to enjoy and to watch these broadcasts to support it. So if you enjoyed that message, send it out, share it out, and we love you, and we hope to see you again on the next video.
Peace and love, beautiful souls.